Please welcome, from Government Innovation at Bloomberg Philanthropies, Ryan Peers, Director of Visor Urbano, Unive Moreno Sanchez, Mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, USA, Randall Woodfin, with CEO and co-founder of Results for America, Michelle Jolin.
Good morning. So our panel is going to be focused on the very, very important issue of how ideas spread and replicate between cities. And this is especially important because of Mayor Bloomberg's fabulous announcement yesterday about the Bloomberg Cities Ideas Exchange, which is going to be supporting cities to replicate ideas and to accelerate the speed. And I hope Ryan will be telling us more about that. But first, I'm going to turn to Mayor Woodfin. First of all, congratulations. I understand you are recently married. We saw this in the New York Times. in case anyone is interested, it was in last weekend's New York Times. So you are you are a national leader in borrowing ideas from other cities. And I'd love to have you tell us about some of the specific examples. But before you do that, can you talk about why that is so important for Birmingham residents and why you think that's so important for your team to do?
Yeah, well, one, good morning to everybody, and thank you for that. These lights are bright. I think for any mayor in this room, we believe in the notion that there are more solutions than there are problems, but we also acknowledge we don't have all the solutions right at our fingertips. And so I think it's extremely important to borrow, steal, on loan, go visit, extract the best ideas and the best solutions that exist. And what's amazing in this position now that next month it'll be 6 years I've been serving as mayor, the ideas that are happening, the solutions that have been created in other cities are infinite. And I think it's important for any of us that serve as mayors to always be in the business of literally pulling and getting best practices and ideas and solutions. And the best way to find them is from other mayors who have been doing the work.
And you went right out to look at what some of the other cities are doing, right? And you sort of encouraged your team as well. It was sort of a challenge to them that this is the way to get things done.
So yeah, twofold. One is any mayor that's going to serve, the best way is to build a good team. And so I went out and stole the best talent as well, not just the best ideas. And then two, the team and I, we went out. So for example, one of the things we did was the Kalamazoo Promise. And Kalamazoo, Michigan has a Promise Scholarship Program. The city of Birmingham created a Birmingham Promise program. We visited Germany, several cities in Germany over 8 days and looked at best practices around apprenticeships. And so we tailor-made an apprenticeship program for our high school students as well. And then, of course, Bloomberg Philanthropy, through the Mayor's Challenge 10 years ago, Providence Talks, which we now have Birmingham Talks, which in the ideal world, there's enough time I can give some more detail about that.
Please, I think that's exactly what we'd love to hear about Birmingham Talks in particular, because I think that's one of the most successful examples of replication. And it started, again, like you said, 10 years ago with the mayor being a Mayor's Challenge winner, and then it's now been replicated to multiple cities, including yours.
So I think this answer deserves a frame. We spend so much time and energy and resources in K through 12, but I believe the foundation for any child's success in education is birth to 5. And we missed the mark a lot in a lot of our cities. And so Providence Talks was probably the best evidence-based model for Birmingham to replicate related to how to engage children with more words and learning, as well as their parents and the caregivers. And this program has been extremely successful for us. It started for us in 2019. It is led by Ruth Ann Moss. And to date, they've served over 2,500 children and families, given out over 10,000 books, as well as over 5,000 hours of educating parents and caregivers as well.
And you also adapted it during the pandemic, is that right? So you knew the context had to be adapted to the city context as well as to what we were all experiencing in the pandemic.
So when you think about it, if you can borrow, steal, on loan a best model somewhere else, it accelerates your ability to scale it for your community, your city. We did that 1 year before the pandemic, so we had to adjust during the pandemic, and it wasn't as favorable as we wanted it to be. The reason is because this type of program requires hands-on. It doesn't necessarily work online when you need to engage children, when you need to engage parents and caregivers. You need hands-on in person. And so we've adjusted post the pandemic of the height of 2020, and it's been a success in 22 and 23.
Amazing. So Mayor Woodford mentioned evidence. And so Univa, with Visa Urbano, I know you have evidence of impact. Can you tell us a little bit more about the program and why it was so important to build in replication from the very beginning, and then also just say something about how important the evidence was to being able to replicate?
Yes, well, thank you, Michelle. Visor Urbano, it is an open source platform that digitalizes business and construction licenses and promotes urban development in a very transparent and efficient way, saving costs for government and for residents. And it was one of the major challenge-winning ideas in 2016. So it is a really important idea to spread because it opens the door to innovation and technology to many cities that otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to have a digital platform like this one. And well, I can tell you about a little story about a small city called Cabo Corrientes, which is in the coast on the state, that before the implementation of Visor Urbano, citizens need to spend almost 3 hours going by boat to make their procedure. And now, after the Visor Urbano was implemented in their city, the citizens doesn't need to go to any government office and make the procedure completely online. So thanks to stories like this one and making an impact to each city, many other places have reached out to have Visor Urbano in their city. So I'm really happy now to share with you and the audience that Visor Urbano is in more than 50 cities in Mexico, and we are looking also for another 50 more. So
amazing.
We are really excited.
That's a real replication success. And tell me, you built replication in from the very beginning, right? That was part of the intent and how you designed it when you got the Mayor's Challenge Award?
Yes, from the creation of the project, it was one of the duties of Bloomberg Philanthropy's initiative. So we think about this from the very beginning. And so we make a solution for a problem that many cities are facing right now. So I think that is also a very important idea because many cities faces this kind of challenges with digitalization and with procedures in online.
And so what were some of the challenges to replication and scale? Like, we know it's hard, and so what were the things that you learned along the way?
Yes, well, first of all, the digital capacity building is different from each city. In Jalisco, we have more than 125 municipalities, so we face different realities with the same platform. So you need to adapt the platform, the initiative, to each city needs and challenges. So we go to the floor, to the main city, to know the people, to know the public servant, to know the citizens. And also, we know that we need to have the political will of the mayor or the governor, because otherwise it couldn't be possible to implement the replication in other cities. So for us, has been like an honor and proud to be that our governor, before was the mayor of the city, is always fully commitment to the initiative and to the replication of Visor Urbano. And after yesterday's announcement, we are more than ready to spread Visor Urbano to more cities. So if you are interested, please reach out to help you. And we have a great team of people, commitment with passion to the initiative, to the idea. So we are really happy. And thank you, Ryan, for the support of Bloomberg Philanthropies.
Call to action.
Call to action.
Yeah. So, Ryan, we have two examples of Mayor's Challenge winners. And so can you talk a little bit more about the role of philanthropy and replication? We clearly have innovation, and replication is part of, how you all are thinking about this going forward with the Bloomberg Cities Ideas Exchange.
Certainly, and I've got to start by saying yesterday morning in the plenary, I essentially almost fell out of my chair when I heard Governor Moore's call to action. We've got to find good ideas, we've got to fund good ideas, and we have to scale good ideas. And I don't want to say that the governor stole my thunder, but I thought it was a really elegant call to action. Yes. As to why it matters to philanthropy, I think about that in three ways. One is at the organizational level. Why does it matter to Bloomberg Philanthropies? The second is at the field level. Why should it matter for philanthropies in general? And then the third is really at the social level. Why should we, the attendees here at City Lab, cities around the world, care about this idea? At that organizational level, one of the reasons that I was so excited to come and support the team at Bloomberg is because I knew across the organization, from our leadership to our team, from Mayor Michael Bloomberg to our CEO Patty Harris to Jim Anderson to folks like me, we have done tours of duty in City Hall. And so we know and are in this unique position of understanding the challenges and opportunities that cities today have. And so it's in many ways no surprise that after 10 years of City Lab, we remain deeply committed to spreading good ideas. At the field level, there's a real market breakdown that's happening. And it's really clear that it's not about the supply of good ideas. One chief executive in the UK, I remember reading, said that the average mayor sees 200 pitches or products or recommendations for some idea that they should put into action every week. And if we think about Mitch's comment yesterday about 1,400 days in a term, 200 ideas a week across 1,400 days, that's a mountain of ideas that mayors are getting recommended to put into action. So it's not about supply. And it's also not about demand. We know and we hear from mayors every day that their teams want good ideas to solve their problems more quickly. So where's the breakdown? And I think this is a really powerful role for philanthropy to identify what that challenge is and then to solve it.
So Ryan, I've heard you talk about innovation as part of this replication process, and I think that's a really important thing to highlight, because if we talked about oftentimes elected officials come in and they want something to do that's new. So how can you sort of encourage the idea that this is an innovation and something new that mayors can adopt when they take office?
I love that. One of the things that I think we have, in general, all of us not done a good job of is recognizing that borrowing good ideas must be an innovation activity. This isn't a copy and paste. This isn't a silver bullet to your big challenge. Instead, you still have to do the really fun, but really hard work of knowing the problem inside and out in your city, of being able to engage with your residents and the folks that you're trying to serve, modifying your program, as both the mayor and Yunive said. We have to make these solutions work in your city, in your local context, and that requires innovation. And so one of the things that we're really excited about doing and want to put out as a call to action to this group is let's move away from this idea that this is a copy and paste, and let's celebrate borrowing good ideas as an innovation activity.
Mayor Woodfin, on one of the last panels, the woman from Tulsa was talking about community engagement. And so when you're replicating and scaling and borrowing ideas, can you talk a little bit about how you adapt and engage the community in this process?
Well, picking up on not copying and pasting, you cannot take an idea or something that's been successful somewhere else and just think you can plant it in your city and just execute. None of the things we do as mayors work without community engagement. And I am convinced in this job, in this position of serving, that it's incumbent that we listen more than we talk. I think a lot of people have it reversed. They think elected officials should talk more. But I think if you actually want to solve and tailor it to your community, you have to listen. And so in this process of getting Birmingham Talks off the ground, it was important that we engage the community, that we listen to parents here, and then we listen to caregivers here. What are the needs? What are the restraints? What are the issues? What are the concerns? How can we assist you engaging your child? Caregivers, how can we assist in supporting you as it relates to teaching, caring for, et cetera? And I think putting all of that together has allowed us to move with the numbers we've had with engaging these parents and caregivers.
And so to replicate, I would love to have you hear from each of you, what would be one thing you'd recommend mayors focus on when you're thinking about replication and scale? Like, what is the most important thing to first think about?
I'm not sure what the first thing is. I think there's several, but I want to be just open as possible in saying that, and I think in my left hand, you need the combination of national philanthropic dollars, local philanthropic dollars, I would say city government, and then somebody local that can operationalize what you're trying to do. So a lot of these ideas, it's cool to live in City Hall, but I think we should kick these ideas out of City Hall, and it should be on a continuum post whoever the mayor is serving during that administration's time and tenure. And then I would say the second thing is you have to check in on what you're doing and hold your own self accountable. It can't just be a feel-good moment because we had an idea, we had some initial seed investment. You have to keep the resources going to support and provide for sustainability of the program or idea.
And so taking off on this, moving from City Hall to outside of City Hall, that was something that you did, Yunive, at Visa Urbano. Can you talk a little bit about that and how important that is?
About the transition?
Yeah.
Well, it was a really interesting position to have the governor, the mayor, and then the governor to spread this idea. And I think that the most important thing that we have been continue doing is to listen to the users, to adapt the platform to each city needs. And I think this is related with what Ryan said, that this is a kind of new innovation in cities. You are not copying and paste anything. And it's really important also to have this commitment team dedicated fully to the innovation initiative. So this helps us to have the political will replicating Visor Urbano in many cities in the state and around Mexico.
So Ryan, most important thing mayors need to focus on in replicating and scaling ideas?
Well, I think we could all do a lot worse than to learn from folks like Mayor Woodfin and Yunive. I think the mayor's powerful call to action to his team to go find good ideas is one that mayors are doing everywhere right now and must continue to do. But I also think one thing that can be important is occasionally when you're in office, there's a strong incentive to create your program, that thing that is about your administration, is aligned to your values. Know that when you borrow a good idea and implement it in your own city, in your own context, adapted to your unique challenges and opportunities, regardless of where you got that spark of an idea, it's still yours. Claim credit for it, support it, and really continue pushing the team with urgency.
Well, thank you. That is the last word. Thank you so much. Please thank our panel for this wonderful.